It started as something simple, a seasonal greeting, the kind of message fans expect every December, wrapped in warmth and good intentions. But this time, when Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo-jung shared their Christmas comments, fans immediately felt that it wasn't just another Merry Christmas. Because it didn't sound distant. It didn't sound routine. And it definitely didn't sound accidental. Park Bo-gum's words were calm, gentle, and thoughtful, as they always are. But fans noticed the tone first. He spoke about gratitude, about people who made the year warmer than expected, and about moments that felt small at the time but stayed with him longer than he realized. There was no name mentioned, no explanation offered. Yet somehow, everyone knew why the comment felt heavier than usual. Almost at the same time, Kim Yoo-jung shared her own December message. Soft, reflective, and quietly emotional. She talked about comfort, about learning to lean on familiar people during colder seasons, and about how some connections feel strongest when the year slows down. Again, no names, no confirmations, just carefully chosen words that lingered. Fans didn't connect the dots because they wanted to. They connected them because the dots were already aligned. Within minutes, screenshots spread. Side-by-side comparisons of their messages flooded timelines. People pointed out similar phrasing, similar timing, even similar imagery. And suddenly, Merry Christmas no longer felt like the full story. What made the buzz explode wasn't just what they said, but what they didn't deny. For years, Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo-jung have been known for their quiet respect toward each other. No forced interactions, no dramatic statements, just mutual acknowledgement and steady professionalism. But during this December period, fans felt something shift. Not loudly, not obviously, but emotionally. Older fans remembered their earlier moments together, the shared smiles, the gentle ease, the way they listened to each other rather than performing for the camera. Newer fans, who may not have followed their history closely, suddenly found themselves curious. Why did these holiday messages feel so connected? Industry insiders later mentioned that both stars had been reflecting more deeply this year. Long schedules, personal growth, time spent reconsidering priorities. December, after all, has a way of doing that. It brings people face to face with what truly mattered during the year, and who stood beside them quietly through it. That's why fans didn't interpret the comments as romance bait. They interpreted them as honesty. Park Bo-gum didn't speak like someone chasing attention. He spoke like someone acknowledging something real, something steady. Kim Yoo-jung didn't sound like someone hinting for speculation. She sounded grounded, content, and emotionally aware. And that combination made people pause. The buzz grew not because of scandal, but because of sincerity. Fans wrote that the comments felt too aligned to be coincidence and too calm to be fake. Others said this was the first time in a long while that a celebrity holiday message felt personal without being revealing. Some fans even pointed out how both stars have matured into a phase of their lives where they no longer overshare. When they speak now, they choose words carefully, which made every sentence count. That's why not just Merry Christmas became the phrase attached to their names this December, because their comments felt like quiet acknowledgments rather than public greetings, like shared understanding rather than seasonal obligation. Neither Park Bo-gum nor Kim Yoo-jung followed up with clarifications. They didn't correct interpretations. They didn't fuel speculation. And that silence spoke just as loudly. In a world where celebrities often rush to define narratives, their choice to let the moment breathe felt intentional, respectful, almost protective. And as Christmas lights glowed across cities and fans revisited their words again and again, one thing became clear. Whatever Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo-jung were expressing this December, it came from a place deeper than tradition. Not just Merry Christmas, but gratitude, comfort, and something quietly meaningful that fans could feel, even without being told what it was. As the days passed after those December comments, the conversation didn't fade the way seasonal buzz usually does. Instead, it deepened. Fans began revisiting older interviews, past moments, and shared timelines, not to dig for scandal, but to understand why these words landed so differently this time. What stood out most was the emotional timing. December is when people slow down, when achievements feel less important than presents, when success is measured not by headlines, but by who made the year survivable. Park Bo-gum's message reflected that shift clearly. He spoke about warmth in unexpected places, about people who didn't need to say much to be felt. Fans noticed how different this sounded from his usual polished gratitude. This felt personal, grounded, like something said after a long year of thinking rather than a scheduled post. Kim Yoo-jung's words carried a similar weight. She spoke about endings that didn't feel sad, about learning that some people remain important even when life grows busier and paths become more complicated. Her tone wasn't nostalgic in a backward-looking way. It was present, peaceful, almost assured. And that was what unsettled people the most, in a good way. There was no longing in their words, no regret, no what if. Instead, there was acceptance. Come, a sense that whatever they were acknowledging already existed quietly and didn't need to be questioned. Fans began sharing personal reactions rather than theories. Many said their comments reminded them of someone they trusted deeply, someone who didn't need constant communication, someone whose presence mattered even from a distance. Others said the messages made them reflect on their own year, on who truly showed up when things were difficult. That emotional mirror effect is rare, and it's why the buzz stayed respectful rather than chaotic. Another reason the moment felt powerful was how consistent it was with who Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo-jung have become. Over the years, both have grown more selective, more intentional. They no longer speak to fill space. When they speak now, it's because they mean something. Fans have learned to listen differently because of that. Industry observers pointed out that both stars have reached a stage where their public image no longer relies on hype. They don't need to spark attention. Attention finds them when they are sincere. And this December, sincerity was exactly what people felt. There was also the unspoken understanding between fans of both sides. Instead of arguing or competing narratives, many simply acknowledged the moment. This feels important, one comment read. Another said, even if nothing changes, this already meant something. That reaction alone said a lot. Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo-jung didn't repost fan reactions. They didn't hint further. They continued their schedules quietly. And in doing so, they reinforced the sense that these comments were not meant to perform. They were meant to exist. As Christmas approached, the conversation shifted from speculation to appreciation. Fans shared edits of winter scenes, soft music, and quotes about quiet bonds. Their names appeared together not in rumor posts, but in reflective ones. Posts about maturity, about timing, about connections that don't need labels to be valid. And perhaps that's the most striking part of this December moment. It didn't create a new story. It reframed an old one. It reminded people that some connections don't need constant visibility to remain meaningful. As the final days of December unfolded, the feelings surrounding Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo-jung didn't dissolve into noise or fade into the background. Instead, it settled, like something meant to be carried quietly rather than explained. Fans noticed that neither of them rushed into year-end summaries filled with highlights or loud celebrations. Their presence during this period felt softer, more inward, as if both were honoring something personal without turning it into a spectacle. What made this moment linger was how familiar it felt to people. Many fans shared that the way Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo-jung spoke reminded them of connections in their own lives, the ones that don't require constant reassurance, the ones that feel strongest when life slows down. December has a way of pulling those feelings to the surface. And somehow, their words captured that universal pause. There was also a noticeable calm in how fans responded. No urgency, no pressure, just a collective sense of understanding. People weren't asking for confirmations anymore. They were acknowledging maturity, growth, emotional honesty, the kind that comes only after years of learning who you are and what truly matters. Park Bo-gum's demeanor during public appearances around that time reflected the same energy. Gentle smiles, thoughtful answers, a sense of steadiness that suggested contentment rather than performance. Kim Yoo-jung, too, appeared more grounded than ever, comfortable, confident, and quietly reflective. Neither seemed like they were searching for something. Both seemed like they had already found balance. That's why the December comments didn't feel like a beginning or an ending. They felt like a recognition, an acknowledgement of something that already existed and didn't need to be announced to be real. Fans described it as a grown moment, one that could only happen after time, experience, and understanding. As New Year's approached, the conversation shifted naturally. Instead of focusing on what might happen next, fans focused on what the moment already represented. Respect. Connection. The kind of bond that doesn't compete with the future but comfortably coexists with it. Some fans wrote that even if nothing else ever came from this, they were grateful for the reminder. Grateful that sincerity still exists in public spaces. That celebrities can share something genuine without turning it into content. That quiet doesn't always mean empty, it can mean full. And perhaps that's why this December moment will be remembered long after the season passes. Not because it promised something new, but because it honored something real. Something human. Something deeply relatable. Park Bo-gum and Kim Yoo-jung didn't change anything with their words. They didn't redefine their story. They simply allowed a sliver of truth to be felt during a time when people are most open to feeling. Not just Merry Christmas, but peace, understanding, and a reminder that sometimes the most meaningful moments are the ones that don't ask for attention, they simply leave an impression and quietly stay.